in my back door someday.
Yeah, Fats Domino's got a little trouble in mind there, and we've got trouble right here in the studio. His name is Neal Ghant. Big trouble.
Big trouble.
Big trouble in River City, and Jenn McEwen, his partner in crime here.
Luckily.
Right.
From Two Colors Theater Company to talk about a really great American play, ladies and gentlemen. One of the seminal plays, early David Mamet. It's called American Buffalo. And Neal, we were talking before we went on the air. You're becoming the Mamet expert here in Atlanta. What is this, 3?
This is the third one in about 7 years or so. It seems like I'm the go-to guy for Mamet. I have no problem with this.
No.
No problem.
You should not. And, for folks who are not familiar, Glenn Ross is probably before that over at the Alliance, and you had Race over True Colors coming up, and now we've got American Buffalo. But what is so unique about David Mamet and his writing?
Oh man, it's his ability to sort of capture the speak of whomever it is that he's trying to write about, particularly in the Chicago area where most of his pieces take place. But aside from the regional nature of it, it's just a way for him. He has this amazing way to pull out what the character is saying, oftentimes without the character saying it. In our show, in this particular piece, American Buffalo, what I found over, say, Glengarry Glen Ross, and Race, is there's so many unsaid things in this show that are left kind of hanging out there for the audience to go, oh, is that really what's going on? Or he leaves a lot of thoughts incomplete that play out in the action in this show particularly.
Yeah, one of the things that I would describe it as urban writing, because the characters are generally in an urban setting.
Yes.
And he also writes about characters that are in the gray area, con men, those real estate salesmen, selling parcels of land. And this is in the shadows as well. These guys are in the shadows trying to get by, making all kinds of shady deals. Right?
Yeah, well, the show takes place inside of Don. One of the characters in the show takes place inside of his junk shop. Now, of course, the 3 characters, Don, myself, Teach, and Bobby, are kind of small-time crooks. They kind of use the junk shop as a sort of a straight front for their criminal activity. And so the junk shop is full of all kinds of things, stuff that people have dropped off. Excuse me, let me say this for G-Val. It's not a junk shop. It's a resale shop.
A resale shop.
And, so inside of the shop, there's all kinds of stuff, and the set is beautiful. But there's always the question of how much of this stuff is actually hot.
Don't want to look at those serial numbers on the back that are,
you know what I mean?
Scraped off.
Yeah,
so it's like a pawn shop in that we're familiar with, and it like you say, it's kind of central to other activities. And what is the American Buffalo reference in it? What does that have to do with it? I think that throws some people off sometimes. American Buffalo, what is this, a Western?
Right.
Is it set out in the West somewhere?
Well, the American Buffalo is basically about the American Buffalo head nickel. That is sort of the central focus of the show. Don, who owns the shop, has the nickel bought off of him from a guy who comes into the shop. And so the majority of the play is determining how these crooks are going to get that coin back, where they feel is far more valuable than what they sold it for. So if they can get it back, they could probably get a lot more money than they sold it for initially.
It's all the conniving that goes into it. Now, Jenn, you're familiar with Mamet through the years, and we're there with Race, and you've seen it. How does the show compare in terms of the behavioral humor that's in the play? I mean, do you find it as funny as I do?
I think it's funnier. I mean, I definitely think that American Buffalo is much funnier than Race, because these guys, it's yes, it's about betrayal. Yes, it's about this big time con, but these are 3 small time guys. It's they're working off each other and playing off each other very much. So I think you'll start laughing from minute 1.
And John Dillon's director. You want to talk a little about John?
John Dillon, former artistic director, Milwaukee rep. He came down to direct our production of Race a couple years ago. It was a beautiful production, big sellout hit. So Kenny said, "We want you back. What do you want to do?" And he said, "Well, we did David's newest play. Let's do David's best play."
And I think it's his first play too.
It's the play. It's not his first play, but it's the
not.
play that put him on the map.
Yeah,
So
because
it was-
House of Games is in there as the movie. Speaking of that, I know Pacino was in this as a film, just to kind of let people know the kind of characters. Of course, Pacino was also in Glengarry Glen Ross. Who else, do you know offhand who else was in the film that might kind of show people the kind of characters that are in it?
For American Buffalo?
Yeah.
I want to say Dennis Franz and Dustin Hoffman
Yes.
did the film back in the 90s.
And I think he
and
played
Dustin
Donnie.
Hoffman did the Broadway production as well.
Okay.
So that's the kind of character acting you'll see in this, and it's an all African American cast. Who else is in the play?
Well, we've got G. Valmont Thomas, who plays Don, and Garrett Gray, who plays Bobby. G. Valmont is out of towner. He's from Seattle, but a really fantastic actor. And Garrett Gray is a fantastic young actor in town. You'll be seeing a lot more.
Yeah,
of
I
him
think
real
Garrett
soon.
was in with us
He
the last
was,
time
and
we were
he's
here.
young,
I mean,
he's
you could
awesome.
cast this with any group of people. I mean, it's the characters are so vivid that African American, Indian,
Yeah.
Italian,
Absolutely.
Swedish.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It
yeah.
could be anything, but I think it'll be interesting to see what flavor that gives it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that when I found out that we were doing it as a full African American cast, that was one of the things that excited me to see, like, what would we just as a crew bring to it that people of the African American culture here in Atlanta could pull from. But it's not just that.
No.
as a whole. I mean, the story itself is just the story. I think
Yeah.
anybody can enjoy it and embrace it. But if you're going to do it, do it with an all African American
Yeah.
cast. Why not?
The
Let's have some
rhythms.
fun with it.
I think the rhythms back and forth would be really great.
I was just going to say, this is the only the second production in the country that's ever been done with an all African American cast. But John wasn't charged to do it with African American actors. He just cast the best guys that walked into the audition.
Well,
Okay.
there it is.
That's all. I won't say anything about that. Since I didn't walk into the audition, I can't really
Since
say.
you weren't
I don't do the
there,
casting.
That's left up to speculation.
Okay, Jen, the nuts and bolts. I know it previews tonight. When it opens when?
Friday. So we have shows starting tonight. Opening night officially is Friday, and we run through March 6th. We're at the Southwest Arts Center, Fulton County Southwest Arts Center. Tickets are at truecolorstheater.org or ticketalternative.com.
Great.
Come
Fol-
early, come often.
Don't miss this, folks. This will be a great theater event here in the city. I want to thank you both for coming in.
Thank you, Larry.
Neal and Jen for American Buffalo, and we'll go out with Lee Andrews and the Hearts. I Wonder. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Larry.